I believe that all of you are familiar with the story of Moses in the Bible and how he freed the people of Israel from the Pharaoh's enslavement by splitting the Red Sea in half. Well, after the Israelites had escaped, they went to a place in the desert called Sinai. In Sinai, the Israelites set up a camp at the foot of a mountain called Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai would then be known as the place where Moses would go to talk to God. They talked about why Moses saved the Israelites and why God had chosen the Israelites to make his new holy nation. One day, God had called upon Moses to come to the top of the mountain. For 40 days and 40 nights, Moses stayed on the mountain with God. During this time, God had told Moses of all his ceremonial and civil laws that he wanted his children to follow. So, God gave Moses 2 stone tablets with the 10 commandments written on them. By God's own finger, when Moses returned down the mountain, however, he was shocked to see that the Israelites had grown tired and impatient from him being in the mountain for so long. So they had created a statue of a calf made of gold and worshipped it as God. Moses grew furious with this idolatry and had smashed and thrown the 2 tablets on the ground in a fit of anger. After God and Moses both punished and disciplined the Israelites, God instructed Moses to chisel the 10 commandments just as God did with his own finger. After the 10 commandments were finished, Moses taught them to the Israelites, and to this day they have been continued to be taught. Now, I expect that everybody here knows what the 10 commandments are, but I want to go into depth about just what the 10 commandments really are and what they mean, because they are what God wants us to follow throughout our entire lifetime. Anyway, the first commandment is God saying, "You shall have no other gods than me." This means that his people shall never worship anyone or anything other than God himself. The second one is love your neighbor as yourself. This one is probably one of the hardest to follow in my opinion. How am I supposed to love everyone in the world if they don't give me the same love? How am I supposed to love someone when it would be much easier to just hate them? Well, I think that a best way to look around this is that, yes, you must love them, but at the same time, you don't exactly have to like them either. I mean, we all come across people that we really dislike, but you still love them, whether it be family, co-workers, or just a random person. The third is, you may not say the Lord's name in vain, which means do not swear using God's name, but it also would mean that not to use the Lord's name in any way that would hurt others. For example, don't force someone to do something by saying that's what God would want to do, because that's just manipulation, betrayal, and lying. The fourth is remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. This one means that every Sunday or Saturday, go to church and worship God. Always leave time in those days to thank the Lord for all the other days of the week that you get to live through. The fifth states, honor your father and mother. This one is one that I don't think is followed enough. If it isn't obvious, this one states that you need to love your parents at all times. Always respect them. Always look up to them. And I know that some of you have heard this more or said this more times than you can remember, but it's still important enough to be said all those times. The sixth one is, you shall not murder. I believe this one goes without saying, but for some of you that need to be told. God has a purpose for everybody that comes on this planet. So don't be the person to mess up his plans. The seventh one is, you shall not commit adultery. This one states that you should always be responsible and mature, never to be blinded by lust. The eighth is, you shall not steal. This is yet another one that just takes common sense. Don't take what doesn't belong to you. You earn what you receive. The ninth is, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. This means to never tell a lie, because it will never ever work in the end. The 10th and final commandment is, you shall not covet, which means don't be jealous. Don't have a desire for something you don't have that someone else does. Now, it is probably one of the hardest things to accomplish in your lifetime to follow all these commandments without breaking a single one. And all of us have failed to follow these commandments at least one time, I believe. The only person who has never failed to do so is Jesus Christ. The best we can do is at least try to follow in his footsteps. Now, let me go back to the commandment that talked about loving thy neighbor. This is, in my opinion, the most important commandment to follow, because if you do follow this one, the others will be easier to follow along with it. And I believe that for some of the commandments, they require kind of breakthrough to fully understand them. Some kind of experience that makes you open your eyes. I recently had my eyes open to loving thy neighbor. For those that don't know, a couple weeks ago, I went on a mission trip with me and a group of friends from my church, along with kids from all over the country, would go to Hamilton, Ohio, and there we would reconstruct, repair, and basically fix houses of low-income families or families that were disabled in any way. We'd stay there for a week, then go back home. On similar experiences and trips, I had just been used to dropping in for a week, then go back home after doing what I need to do. I would usually walk out feeling happy and knowing that I helped someone out. But that was it. I knew I made somebody happy, but I never knew who they are and probably didn't remember what their name was. But all that changed on this trip. Before we got assigned to a house that we worked with there, a bunch of random kids from different regions of the country that we didn't know at all would be randomly thrown together into a group and then given information on what they were doing. Needless to say, an unenergetic team with poor social skills and a short fuse wasn't all excited with how they set that up. But I was pleasantly surprised when everyone that I met there, the people in my group, the family in the home, quickly felt like family. And I loved them. This was the first time where, when I left, I felt sadness, knowing that I'd probably never see Andrew, Rebecca, Cora, Ron, Cameron, and Jackie ever again. So always love your neighbor. Love everyone that you see, because they all have their own incredible story.
Amen.